So I kind of went around the house trying to find a good spot. This is my usual spot, but I'm in the dining room. I might get a doorbell ring because
Oh,
I'm
listen,
expecting.
when you get a doorbell ring, take the camera to the door and let's go answer it together.
I have to
Yes.
take the laptop in.
That's cool. Just like carry it and we're going to go on a journey with you. Hi, it's Joe Mullings with MRI Network, and I've got Geneva Taylor with us today. Geneva is the managing director at TELUS Executive Search in Indianapolis. And Geneva, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's super to have you here. And I love the fact that you're plugged right into the manufacturing hardcore side of the business. And I'm fascinated by your journey there because you're a later career entry into the search business.
Absolutely.
You want to give me a little history on that?
Yeah, I was getting burnt out of corporate America and I wanted to do something new. One of the other MRI owners is actually a former mentee of mine. And he says, well, why don't you put out your shingle like I did? Become a recruiter. I was like, okay. There was some thought to actually starting a business. I just didn't have recruiting in mind at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I did.
Yeah, and you came out of heavy duty manufacturing, so Rolls Royce, right?
Hmm. Yes,
Also out of Rockwell,
yes,
and you held some pretty legit roles in those organizations.
yes. Um, I love the technical piece of it. So I like to tell people, yeah, I graduated in electrical engineering, but I never did a day of it in my life. So I always worked with other engineers. And that was my way of still staying connected to the technical pieces of the business that I loved and what I went to school for. And it was like my secret weapon. I tell people it was my secret weapon because they don't expect somebody in purchasing to know engineering like I did, and I could solve problems. So it was very enjoyable for me as far as the technical piece of working in that type of manufacturing was very important to me.
Mm.
And so I brought that into my recruiting business because that's my favorite type of customer now are those same really technical companies that need that skill set. So I really enjoy working with those engineers because most people don't even know what language they're speaking. They get excited when they get to talk to somebody who understands what they're talking about because usually with engineers, nobody gets excited like we do.
It's true. I'm a fellow engineer geek, and you've got to totally catch him by surprise because first of all, you're a double E, and again,
Yeah.
double E is harder than mechanical, which was I was, and you're a female, and you're a recruiter. So when you start, and you were at
And I'm a
roles,
minority.
and you're a diversity, right? So you got it all covered, and when you start, throwing about the engineering terms, supply chain terms, ERP, all of that, and you can go deep, you've got to set people back on their heels.
Oh yeah, they relax though.
Hmm.
It's a different conversation. Most engineers don't like to talk to humans, period. And then to talk to a recruiter, they're like, oh God, what are you trying to sell me? But once you really get to talk to them about what they're working on, they light up because you understand. So most people they would talk to, nobody in their family cares about what they're working on. I care.
Mm,
That's why I'm a search consultant who cares because I care about what they're doing.
yeah.
And I get excited too. And I tell them to tell me more. And I tell them I'm learning something. So that's the joy of this business for me is that this is the first time in a long career that I'm finally learning some new things.
Mm. So you got into the business in 2016, is that correct?
That's right.
Right. And you
Almost
had a
4 years.
great corporate career
Yeah.
and climbed quite a bit, promoted a number of times in big organizations. What was that day like that you decided, I'm done with this? And then how did you end up here?
Hmm. That's a good question. I kind of started thinking about getting out probably 2 or 3 years before I did. So I'm very strategic. That's why I was a strategic purchasing executive. I choose my career. I chose my career like I chose my life in a sense. I think strategically. And I said, I've got to find what I want to do next. I want to find my last career. And so the mindset, the day that it came to me that I wanted to do something different was probably 2013. but I didn't know what. And that's when I really started doing a career exploration. I talked to some other business owners and franchise business sellers, and looked at different options, and nothing really resonated with me. And again, like when I finally reconnected with one of my former mentees, Nassim Malik, who's MRA Global, and we started talking. This resonated with me,
Mm.
and he did his good selling job like he does. He convinced me that this was a good fit for my background, my personality. And then meeting an MRI, corporate people, meeting other business owners in MRI, other franchise owners, really made me feel like I could do this.
Mm.
It was more of a family. I felt part of the family almost from the get-go,
Wow, that's
and I have
important.
fond memories about that.
So, first day in the bullpen, you walk into the office, and here you are, a purchasing executive, and they point at a phone, and they probably point at a headset, and they put a script in front of you and make 100 calls. So, what went through your head?
I said, this sucks. Okay, if you make me. So yeah, NOD training, that's a new owner development training.
Hmm.
I was very fortunate because I was able to go through NOD training by myself because I was the only one who had signed up, as a franchisee that particular time period. And so I had one-on-one coaching,
Mm.
which was good and it's bad because
Hmm.
somebody's watching everything you do all the time. But at the same time, I could ask a lot of questions and I got a lot of positive reinforcement along the way. So I think I've probably never hit 100 calls. I will be honest,
Hmm.
but it felt like I could do this. And because of my background, and people would kind of recognize that you know what you're talking about even back then, even though you don't know recruiting. And I really had to build the confidence and the resilience to say, I'm supposed to be doing this. And it's not so much that I'm intruding on their day. They should want to talk to me, somebody like me. So I had to kind of change my mindset and then get over it.
Mm. So you were able to leverage your knowledge of the industry. You work your desk, supply chain manager, VP, and some C-level work right now, correct?
Yes. Hmm.
So you're right in your sweet spot. When you're chatting with people, this is home for you.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, this for me, supply chain is bigger than just purchasing or logistics. It's the engineering pieces of it too. And that is really my sweet spot. Just talking to the people that need the senior manufacturing engineers or manufacturing director, those type of roles to me are also part of supply chain because they have to be, to be successful, to have a successful manufacturing environment. You can't just say that's engineering. It's
Hmm.
part of supply chain,
Hmm.
quality directors and so on. That's part of supply chain.
Right.
So when you can tell them, I know you don't have to really worry about the job description. I can read through that and basically tell you what you need. I hire people as if I'm looking at them to hire them for my company.
Mm.
And that's what resonates with my clients.
So, we're in the middle of this COVID thing right now, so I'm going to ask for some expert advice, right? So everybody's talking about supply chain. Everybody's talking about onshoring and bringing back a nationalistic mindset, even though no matter where you're doing manufacturing right now in the world, supply chain is screwed. Um, what do you forecast for your desk and anybody who's running a QA, supply chain, ops, whether it's to the primaries or the secondary supply market in general? What are you keeping your eyes on 2 or 3 years from now as you're building your desk?
Okay. That's a good question. I think the thing that is most important is that good people will ride through this okay, but the companies may not survive them. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Companies' behaviors may drive some of the good people onward and outward. And I'm actually writing an article right now about how this is going to impact like Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Hmm.
and that the basic needs that people are going to be shifting what they is important to them. And so if it's more important to them to be nearer to their family and the company didn't treat them right through this period, they may be gone. They'll go to where their family is. or if they are, wanting to do more stay at home work and not travel as much, they're going to have to figure out ways to let people work where they are as opposed to making them travel all over, and maybe have more regional, aspects of how they address their supply chain. They can't have everybody in the office.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be able to have, if somebody's on the road all the time, why count them as and make them move to that city? They're on the road anyway. Or if maybe you can assign all the suppliers to near where they are. So I think we're going to go back to some kind of regional, virtual, get the work done where the suppliers are, and that's going to shift the kind of environment that our manufacturing and purchasing people will even be in.
Hmm.
So that's my personal opinion. I've seen like ebbs and flows of that. The corporate environment, the corporate supply chain, they want everybody sitting together. I think that's done. They're going to have more regional offices, in my opinion.
And you think that'll be accelerated because over the last 8 weeks or so, we've become accustomed that we can do business this way?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been in supply chain for such a long time. I've seen it come and go, different theories. First, it's all segmented into the plants, and then it's back into into a central corporate office. Then it's brought back, back and forth, back and forth. So I think it's going to get dispersed again. Because why have people in a corporate office and then they have to travel and all the risk around that and all the space issues around that and anything else, that causes friction around that. They'll probably start trying to put the people back into the facilities in the different areas.
Yeah, and I think that you see more and more partnerships really become insinuated inside of each other versus
Exactly.
it be a supplier and the customer. I think you're going to see these collaborations occur in mass as well.
Yeah.
So you and I, before we went on air, were chatting about being later in our careers, not in my terms, right? But
hey, I got good genes. I don't know what's wrong with you.
drank too much, partied too hard, rode it too
You
hard.
had too much fun.
But I'm leaving a
early.
good corpse behind, I'm telling you right now. But somebody who's grooving into their, I'm going to guess 50s, right? You're enjoying yourself. You're certainly, fired up, and you made this transition into a brand new career. What guidance do you give to people maybe who right now were great employees, but because the business went out, because of the scenario, by no fault of their own? And I'm not suggesting you tell them to become a recruiter, but what is
Right.
that mid to later career guidance for the 50 plus from your perspective?
Well, at some point in time, you have to remember who you were, or, you got kind of lost in a corporate environment and you became a different person. And as I reflect upon kind of my, how should I say, I would rather bet on myself than a company.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say a company might have let you down, then what are you good at? And can you bet on yourself? Can you invest in yourself? Because that's exactly what I did. I saw myself as the best investment I can make, something I can control, more so than a company. And one of my favorite, I like movies, and I resonate with certain themes in certain movies. And I just watched another time, probably 20 times, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Last Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part at the end of the movie where Indiana Jones is going on that walk to get the Holy Grail to save his father. And the scene that resonates with me is the leap of faith into the canyon to go across what looks like an empty canyon that he's going to fall straight through to get to the other side to get the Holy Grail. And what he does is he puts that first step out and he actually hits ground. And then he sees this, it's an obstacle, it's a optical illusion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, this was a walk of faith for me.
Mm-hmm.
This was me believing in myself. This was me taking that step and finding an actual ground there, that what I envisioned wasn't a cavern. It was actually a pathway. And so that's what I would tell people. Do you believe in yourself enough to take faith and invest in yourself?
And I love you started that out with you saying remembering who you are, because sometimes a corporation can take your soul Let's be
Yes.
real. It can.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I spent 3 years in one from the age of 23 to 26, and after 2 weeks, I said, no, 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 that's not going to happen to me. Um, and I think you're right. I think people have to remember who they are, not reinvent themselves, but remember who they are.
Right.
And that's
Hmm.
brilliant advice. Good for you. So for those who are recruiters, you've been at it 4 years now, and you've been successful. The new recruiter listening to this, watching this, what do you tell that person in their first year
Hmm.
not to worry about and what they should worry about?
Okay. Well, what I'll start with what they should worry about. They should try to understand whatever they're recruiting in. For me, the true nature of somebody that you can trust and respect is that they're knowledgeable. So I had, a new recruiter working for me, and it was actually my stepdaughter at the time. She's still my stepdaughter, but she's not working with me anymore. But I told her, I said, if you're working in manufacturing, we're working on, milling and turning machines. You need to research what milling and turning machines do, so what you're looking for. And what I hear a lot of even candidates tell me about is that here is a person, they've been put on the phone, they don't even know what I do. They're asking me these questions from a list of questions. When I answer, they're not even listening. They don't even understand what I'm saying, and it's frustrating. And that to me gives recruiting a bad name. So to me, know what you're working in. Like, do your homework. Don't expect it to be handed to you on a plate and said, okay, now you're a recruiter, go do this. No, put a little extra effort and understand the market or the industry or the jobs you're recruiting for. And what I wouldn't worry about is you don't have to know everything. Because, well, one thing is, if depending on what you're doing, and again, I'm working with engineers who are notoriously introverts, to get them to talk, you have to find what they want to talk about,
Hmm.
right? And so you ask questions. So asking questions is the thing that you have to remember to do. And don't worry about not knowing the answer, because you're really just be truly curious, be naturally curious. And I think that's what they have to remember to do, and not worry about not having all the answers, because you won't. And it's okay.
Yeah. And haven't you found that most of the time, if you approach it respectfully and you ask um, sincere questions, they're more than happy to teach you, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yes. People want to brag. People want to tell you what they do.
Hmm.
Um, it's up to you to really sound interested, truly sound interested, and like I say, remain naturally curious, and kind of manage the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And then before we head out, what are you going to be focusing on over the next 6 months? And again, the horizon's not there for us right now in regards to this crazy time we're living in, but from your desk level and your business level, what are you going to be focusing on and watching for?
Yeah. The main thing that I'm doing, and I get a lot of the feedback through some of the other owners too, is just keeping in the loop with your clients and future clients in your industry, and keeping those relationships warm, so that you're there when things rebound. So what I'm really focused on right now is keeping relationships warm and listening for trends and sharing information um, that they may not see, because they're stuck in their microcosm of their own company. So I find myself right now just sharing insights about, what's going on at this company. Unfortunately, it's a lot of different conversations about furloughs and pay cuts and timing of that. And people want reassurance that, they're not alone. So they can't go out and get that information unless it's already in the public knowledge and in the news.
Hmm.
So I'm looking at it as being insightful to what's changing in the market, and sharing that with, the people that I talk to, and being seen as a resource and making those connections and then following through with them. So I don't have any magic, predictor.
Hmm.
I don't want to just survive. I want to thrive through this, and I want to build stronger relationships on the other side of it. So
Awesome.
as I go through this, I'm networking and building, and I'm looking at it as just again, another investment of my time that will give me a payback later.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And hopefully it's less than 6 months.
I
I
agree.
hope.
I agree. Well, Geneva, this has been outstanding. I hope it was for you as well.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, same here.
It was.
Same here. Wasn't as
Okay, and then we still got what drink were we gonna have?
I'm doing vodka tonics. I don't know about you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, how about you?
I don't know. I have to think of something good. Maybe Jack and Coke.
All right. When I see you, first one's on me.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
You take care.
Be well. Thank you.
Okay. Do I stay on?
Yeah, stay on for a second. Let me say goodbye
Okay.
first. This is Joe Mullings with the MRI Network. There you are. Now we're done.
Woo!
See, it wasn't that bad, right?
And the doorbell didn't ring, and I didn't have to take the computer to the door. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that
It
was fun.
wasn't that bad. You're
Right?
really good. And you didn't give me that Gibbs stare too much. You did all right.
I know. I know.